James is on there. Is this the person this lady might be the cook? I don't know what. Okay. And so, you ready, Corvette?
Yes, sir.
Will you be better here or over there?
He gonna go over here.
Which one?
Because he gonna go right there.
Okay.
So you want to sit here?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that the one to be on the radio?
Yeah. Get up.
Get
up. You see me?
Can I move this?
Oh, see that you got this.
Hey, I sit. You know what?
Okay.
Told see? And I put a chair right there.
I said, I don't think the brother wanted to sit.
No, we family. I was comfortable.
But I didn't tell you his name. Brother's name is Booker Chambers.
Okay.
And so
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet y'all.
Near Trinity, man.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Let me say, everybody all right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Glad I could be here this morning, and hope this ain't my last time.
Yes.
Being with you guys. Let me give you, George asked me to just give you a little bit of my background and, my upbringing and so forth. I actually was born over here in Church Hill. I was born what was called, part of town, what used to be called 17th Street Bottom, which is right down the road there. I actually went to Buckhannon Street School. I don't know if y'all remember. See, Buckhannon was replaced by Mosley, okay, before MLK. And all this up here used to be a dump. Used to be a landfill. And when we left 17th Street Bottom, moved up to a street that's no longer up here called Pleasant. I mean, called Pleasant Street. It's now Cedar Street. There's Cedar Street going down the hill back there, but I used to go on Pleasant Street, and then we left Pleasant Street, moved to 25th and 9 Mile Road, and used to be a Sunoco service station up there at 25th and 9 Mile Road, right there where the market is now. It used to be a Sunoco service station on that corner. And we moved from up there when I was about 8 years old and moved to Gilpin Court. So I actually grew up in Gilpin. My mother, I was her oldest child, the first child, and she was 16 years old when she had me. I was born in September and 13th, and then in December she turned 17. Okay, and so I had a young mother, single mother, and grew up not knowing my daddy, although he lived right around the corner from me on Buckhannon Street. Come to find out, but he wasn't in my life until about 10 years old. And that's only because I went looking for him, and my mother I never heard my mother say one bad thing about my dad in her life. I just grew up hating the man, because the man wasn't in my life with my mom. See, my thing was, how can you be my dad and not be with my mom?
Right.
My thing was, I had so much love for my mother, I couldn't understand why this man wasn't with my mother.
Right.
So I had a disliking for my daddy growing up. I still went looking for him, though. But I wanted to know. And see, now my grandmother, I had a little racket going on there one time. We lived in Church here on 9 Mile Road, on 25th 9 Mile Road, because all my relatives we were all in the house together. I had my great grandmama, Annie Bell Chambers, who went to Bethlehem Church, and they still talk about Annie Bell Chambers at Bethlehem Church, how she used to shout and jump and run down the aisle and all that. And she was the rock of the family. And then it was my grandmama, Big Mama, my mama was there, and my Uncle Bubba, and my Uncle Melvin. We all were, in the house together. So I had it kind of easy for a while because it felt only child. So then, I don't know how I learned how to lie, but I started lying. You know, because I was in the house with all them, and my uncle never would walk me to school. And before I leave home, Mama would give me lunch money.
Right.
My grandmama, my great grandmama, she would call me and she got no lunch money, boy. I said, no man, I ain't got no. So she gave me lunch money. And my grandma Beulah, anybody gave you lunch money? I said, no man, then she gave me lunch money. You know, my Uncle Bubba, he said, before I go out the door, oh boy, anybody got no Uncle Bubba? They told me to ask you. Then he gave me lunch money. And then walking to school. Yeah, and then walking to school, my Uncle Mel said, anybody give you lunch money? I said, no, Uncle Mel, they told me to ask you. He, damn. Then he gave me lunch money, you know. Then finally one morning, he said, boy, you know how to lie your ass. I don't know, you know, I'm 7, 8 years old. He said, boy, you can lie. You know, I don't know how, but I just realized if I tell him I ain't got nothing, then I get more money. So, you know, here I am, 7 years old, back in the...
And nobody asked nobody.
In the 60s, late 50s, you know. I'm walking around $2 some change in my pocket.
That's a whole lot of money.
Yes. You know, back then, you know, so I'm happy and I'm doing that. But I also realized we have family gatherings, especially on 9 Mile Road. Well, anyway, and on Sunday and on Chicken, Plus, everybody, you know, family name. Everybody come together. And the night before they would gather, my mama be going around the house hiding guns. And I'm wondering, Mama, what you doing? Hiding guns? You know, I'm getting the guns, putting guns away. I'm like, what is going on? So I learned relatively quickly. You know, next day they all come over in and walk in the door. Why you been hugging, loving that boy? Been a long time since I seen you, man. Go ahead, dead him on you. You know, you good about and then about an hour and a half, 2 hours later, get that liquor in him. Yeah. Motherfucker, I'm gonna kill this motherfucker. Where my damn gun, Marie? Where my goddamn gun? I'm gonna shoot this motherfucker. I ain't giving you nothing. So I learned, you know, why I'm hiding the guns, you know, and all that. So, and then, you know, as I got older, my sisters came along, and then we realized everything wasn't so great. You know, we were all living together, but everything was still struggling. You know, Uncle Bubba. It got to the point when Uncle Bubba on Friday, we had to go to his job and get his check because the nigga leave job with a paycheck. When he got home, he wouldn't have nothing. So we had to go on the job and get Uncle Bubba doing nothing and get that money. Oh, he done come home drunk, spent, you know, and it got to the point, Mama, we coming home sometime, Mama send me peek around the corner, coming up Fairmount Avenue, go see if the furniture sitting outside. So Uncle Bubba messed up the money again, ain't paid his, you know, so it was like that.
Right.
And I learned how to sleep in my one spot, because we slept 5 in the bed.
Right.
Head, toe.
Right.
You know, so you turn in your spot. You couldn't be all over the bed. You learn how to turn in your spot. So I got used to that. So then, when we moved up to Gilpin, now it's my mama, my 2 sisters, and myself. So now I'm the man of the house.
Right.
You know, and we up in the Gilpin Court project. You know, I live with some crazy niggas over here. So now I'm getting supposed to be some more crazy niggas over there in Gilpin where I'm now going, you know. So it's like, okay, this is a new experience, new everything. But I will say that I used to tell the children at Armstrong that one thing about Gilpin Court when I grew up, we were poor, but we were in this thing together.
Yes.
We were in this thing together.
That's right.
You know, it was nothing to say, Mama said, go see Ruth, tell me Ruth send me some sugar. Tell me Ruth send me $5. I'm like, oh, we got $5, we got $2, we got this, you know, I mean, that's how we roll. And yes, we did our shit.
Yeah.
But we didn't do our shit in Gilpin.
Right, that's right.
We left Gilpin.
That's how I
do our shit. We went to North Side, the other side of the tracks, where they had the apple trees in the yards and grapevines and all that. You know, so okay, we go, you know, and downtown, you know, go down Broad Street. And back in those days, there's a lot of stores you couldn't go into.
Right.
You know, Tall Hammers, Millen Road, and all that. You know, they couldn't go in those stores. You know, so, you know, we had Raylass, which was cheap stores, Troy's, was on Clay Street, Charles, you know, cheap we could go, but, you know, good store we couldn't go into. But we used to get up in there, and we, like I said, we did our dirt, you know, but police started chasing us, and we knew if police chasing me, if I made it to Gilpin,
That was it.
anywhere in Gilpin,
Yeah.
old projects, new
Get a
projects, if
whooping.
I just made it
Right.
to Gilpin, you're not catching me.
Yeah.
Because I can go to anybody's door and knock on the door. Please, yes, ma'am, come on in, have a seat, boy. Sit down, wait a few minutes, and leave a little lady and go out the front door. That's how we did it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, I remember one night, Mama said, go ask Miss Ruth, they got anything to eat over there.
Right.
I said, we ain't got nothing up in here. Nothing.
Right.
You know, and we was 5 children at this time. Because my mama had married my stepfather. Had 2 more children. It was 5 children, 2 adults. And I went over to Miss Ruth's house, and it was her husband, Mr. Big Douglas, and Miss Ruth, and their 5 children.
Right.
You know, they eventually moved over to Wickham. And they left Gilpin Court, they moved over to Wickham after they built Wickham.
Right.
You know? And but this night I went out and said, Miss Ruth, Mama said, you got anything to eat you can share with us? Miss Ruth said, Booker, you gonna tell Marie, I ain't got anything, we ain't got anything.
Right.
You know, we just like y'all. She said, only thing I got up in here to eat is this onion. And she had this big onion. She said, I got this one onion and I'm about ready to fry this up. Okay? She said, and if y'all want to come over here and share this, come on. And that's what we did. So you got
Break bread.
14 people.
Yeah.
Of 100, 5 children, 4 adults eating off of that. Now the men didn't eat.
10 children.
Okay? And we eating off of that one onion. And I used to tell the children that I said, because that's how we were together as a people.
Yeah.
You know, we weren't shooting niggas in the back of the head. We were now we fought.
Yeah.
You know, when we got cut every now and then, I still got my little slice move right here. They barely missed my vein. You know, but we had our, but we were together as a community. So with that upbringing, you know, I'm following just like the rest of us. You know, you're in a single parent home, you ain't got no daddy, you know, I mean, my stepfather, by the time he came along, I was like 10 years old, so he and I, because he coming in with these rules, you know. Oh, you gotta be in the house at 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock, nigga, I don't get home from school until 3:30 something. My boys, you 6 o'clock, man, 6. And if you 5 minutes late, can't go out the next day. And if I do something good for him, like go somewhere and get some money from one of his relatives around the street, because his uncle used to own a bar on Clay Street, right there on Clay and Adams.
Okay.
Uncle Gus. So I went to Uncle Gus and got some money or something. Oh, you can start at 8:30. And I knew when it was 8 because 2 trains came by. Calhoun, you can hear the train at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Wilson did the 8:30 one. So don't let that train Wilson catch you, you know, if you're going to be late. So if I did something good, I could stay out a little longer. But he and I, and the reason we really clashed, because he had a bad mouth with my mom.
Okay.
You know, he was like, oh, Marie, goddamn bitch. What?
No, see.
So every time him and mama would get to arguing, I get my baseball bat, put it under the sofa right by me, and, you know, watching, you know, and one night mama got tired, had enough of him. And he was drinking his beer, Rich Brown beer, and he was drinking all that. And mama smacked that shit out of it. I mean, one of them smacks was just turned his whole body around, you know, and he stumbled back down the hall and set the beer down and said, oh, you bitch, you. And run up on my mama, and I jumped up in front of him with my baseball bat. I said, man, put your goddamn hands down.
Yeah.
Oh, Marie, that little motherfucker. I don't care what you, man, you ain't hitting my mama, man.
That's right.
You know, not around me. You know, hell to the no. And my boys, you know, all my boys, because when I got to Gilpin, I was the fastest dude in Gilpin, my age group. I could play baseball, football, basketball, and a nigga could sing.
All right.
So I was, you know, I was hot shit. And didn't know it. You know, I just stumbled into it, you know, all that, you know, so I was with the popular dudes.
Right.
You know, to go shampoo, high yellow brother with the good hair,
Yeah.
fat man, Lawrence Watts, and all of them, Chick, William Thornhouse. So all of us played ball together. We played baseball together. We played football together. We played basketball together. We all ran together. It was us. And Biscuit, my boy Biscuit, in fact, he's a preacher down here at Pilgrim now. My best friend. I've been knowing him since 1959. When we first met, and all my boys wanted to hurt
25 years before I was born. He said 59. Yeah, it is.
Yep, 60 years.
25 years before.
When my youngest brother was born, my mama and his dad and my stepfather brought him home from St. Philip in a Manhattan cab.
All right.
And when they pulled up in Gilbert Court to get out the cab with him, my boy Biscuit and I was standing there waiting for him, and he'd be 60 this year.
All right.
See, we was standing, so it was, like I said, we were good, and all my boys wanted to hurt him, and man, we were gonna mess him up. Only thing saved him was my mama.
Yeah.
She said, y'all leave the man, because my mama was so loved in Gilpin Court by my friends. I mean, when she died, she packed his church at Pilgrim. The only time his church packed it. And
the only time.
I'm probably, yeah. And she just, everybody loved Mama. Oh, my mama would go to a store called Bridges, and she would go buy 30 dozens of eggs, because he would give her a deal on his crate of eggs when she could afford it, when they could afford it, and would feed all the children in the morning on their way to school. So I mean, the children just love my mama. So, and they ain't want nobody, including Henry, messing with my mom. So that saved Henry, because, but I tell you, Henry and I, we just, I tell you, I'll jump forward a little bit. When I joined the Navy, and I was gone for 3 years, and I came back home, I sat Henry down and I thanked him. I said, Henry, boy, I used to hate you, man. I said, I understand now what you were trying to do. I didn't agree with your methods and how you did it, but I understand what you were trying to do, because he had a very low vocabulary. So the only thing he could say was motherfucker, bitch, something like that's all he knew. But and he motivated me, because I took the thing, I said, okay, I'm gonna show him. I'm gonna be better than him. I'm gonna show this nigga that no, I ain't like that. I'm gonna, and so that's what my job was, to prove to him that I was wrong. That he was wrong about me.
Yeah, that's right.
But I was smart in school. I was in school. I was an A student. When I was in the 8th grade at grades, I was taking 9th grade algebra.
Okay.
Me and another young lady, we were 2 of us in the class. We were in the back of the room doing 9th grade algebra, while the rest of the students doing 8th grade math. Okay, but then I found out about girls.
Won't he do it?
Oh, I found out about girls. And I started playing hooky. And once I played hooky that first time and didn't get caught, oh man, it was on. It was on. And playing hooky with girls. Oh, my God. And I went to John Marshall, because they had just integrated John Marshall. So when I went to high school, I went to John Marshall. And I got to John Marshall. We walked through the halls in the morning, and when the bell rang, leave.
Yes.
I go there on Friday to take the test and pass.
That's terrible.
And eventually that caught up with me.
Yeah.
Because I was just playing. My second year there, I was absent 105 days. 105 days.
And you still remember that?
Still. And one teacher, I used to write my own notes. And I'd write notes that excuse Booker because he had death in the family. So finally when I took her notes, she said, another death Booker. I said, anybody left in your name?
Right.
I just got to do nothing but laugh. And I met my first wife. That playing hooky, girl from Northside, the brother named Clyde, the Webb, and they were real tight with the Bliley boys.
Oh,
so
don't talk about that.
Matter of fact, my first brother-in-law, he was one in the shootout with the Bliley boys, with the police on Brooklyn Park Boulevard. Okay, and the fact he left then, went to Philadelphia. I don't think he never came back. He snuck in and out.
Right.
See, because he was with the Valley Boys.
Right.
You know, when the stuff was down. You know, so I was in that crowd, and just like Mama, first thing you know, next thing you know, I had a baby coming. You know, and when my son was born, I was 7. Well, he was born September 9th, and 4 days later, I turned 18. And my birthday on the 13th. So I was 17 when he was born, but 4 days later, I turned 18. So now I got a son, and my thing was everybody was getting, ain't gonna last, ain't gonna work, y'all too young to have a baby and all that. So I was like determined, no, anybody gonna tell me it ain't gonna work. I'm gonna do what I gotta do. I'm gonna be the man that I know to be, because I got a son and I ain't gonna be like my daddy.
Right.
You know, like my daddy did me, I'm gonna be in my son's life. So although I didn't get the education at John Marshall that I should have gotten because I was not there, what happened at John Marshall changed my life and set the course of my life to this day. And what happened was, I was in the singing group. You know, a bunch of brothers, you know, we used to wear outfits to school. We had little yellow outfits we used to wear, stand outside the cafeteria, do that like, and there was some white boys that were in a band at John Marshall, and they heard us singing outside that cafeteria one morning, and they asked us to come practice with them one day, just check them out. So we talked about it, y'all, we really want to do this. So finally said, yeah, let's do it. So they lived over at Fulton Hill.
Right.
You know, back in those days, Fulton Hill was all white.
Right.
You know, black folks just lived down the bottom, Fulton bottom, up on the hill.
Yeah, the white folks.
White folks. That place on Williamsburg Road up top of the hill called the Hut.
Yeah.
That was all white. You better not go up in there. Oh, no. Anyway, everybody doesn't come over there, and so we went over and practiced with them, rehearsed with them and all that, and it was good. And so they came back and they said, well, we only want you. You don't want me. And I was like, I can't get my boys, you know. And so one of my dudes in the group, guy named Maurice Cunningham, Maurice said, Book, do it, man. You gotta do this. I said, no, but they only want me. He said, man, you do it. Go ahead, man. You know, do it. And I was, what, 14? Yeah, 14, because John Marshall started in the 9th grade.
Right.
Back then, Walker was 10th grade.
Yeah.
You know, so that's why I went to John Marshall, because I wanted to get the hell out of grades and go to high school.
Yeah.
Because my boy Biscuit, he older than me, Reverend Turner. So he went to, that was the year he started at Walker. So I wanted to be like him, to be in high school, so I went to John Marshall and met these guys. And so after talking over with the group, I got with the white boys, with the guys. And at that time it was 5 white boys, 2 black dudes playing the horns, and myself. It was 8 of us. And the band became known as Booker Chambers and the Bel Airs.
Okay.
And we singing in bushes all of the white clubs all around Richmond. Places I had never dreamt of going to, you know. But the nigga was not crazy. I knew not to be looking at them white girls. Back in them days. You better not do that. You know, so I wasn't out there, although they were looking at me, wanted me, we played all over the place. Then we played some black clubs too. We played the Sahara. We played St. James and Lee.
Okay.
We played place over here on 29th Street, the Railroad Club.
Oh,
We played Railroad Club many nights. In fact, one night we up at Railroad Club, Jane Pack, and we singing a song about Sly and the Family Stone. Nigga, don't call me nigga. Whitehead, don't call me whitehead. It's a bunch of white boys. We up there, you know, singing all that, doing all those things. So, in fact, we sung down here in Wickham at the rental office twice.
Oh, okay.
Twice.
Okay.
We sung there at the rental office. In fact, I lost my voice one night down there. That second time we sung there. Walked to the microphone and said, good evening, everybody. Y'all know us. Yeah. We Booker Chambers and the Bel Airs. Oh, what the hell? And everybody said, they said, sing anyway. And I sung for a couple of hours and left the stage, throat big, went straight to the hospital. But we did that. And now I got, then my wife came in, got a child. we still singing, but you know, I got a job, and I always had a little job. You know, always had me a little piece of something. And then one of the white guys in the band, one night he asked me. He worked for Channel 8 television station.
Okay.
He was a county executive at Channel 8. And he asked me one night. He said, "Look, do you think you can learn how to operate a TV camera?" I said, "Yeah, Malcolm." Malcolm locked me. I said, "I learned anything." You know? He said, "I'm gonna get you an interview because we're looking for a cameraman." Okay. And he got me an interview, and lo and behold, I got the job.
All right.
Okay. And this back in the day, nigga making $100 a week.
That's good.
He making money.
Yeah.
And I was making $100 a week at the TV station. And I started that job, I was 18. I was 18, yeah. And I was still in the band, working at the TV station. And of course, now people like, you maybe work at TV station.
Right.
You know, I was the first black to work in TV production in the state of Virginia.
Wow.
Good Negro from Gilbert Court.
All right.
But I got the job on a humbug. I got the job because I could sing.
Right.
And I was in a band with a white boy
who
opened the door and got me a job. Okay, so I'm running. I don't know. Now y'all don't know. None of y'all old guys remember. They had a show called Shock Theater, the Bowman Body.
I remember.
I used to run camera on Bowman Body.
Okay.
With him coming out that coffin.
Yes,
you know,
I remember.
Yeah, I ran camera on that show, and so I was running camera and I got good at it. Then they asked me, they said, "Well, you know, by you being in the band and singing and all that, you don't know a little audio, a little sounds. So I got to work the audio for us." I said, "Okay," so I got in the control room. Now I'm running the audio. I'm putting all the sound on television and everything. And I'm sitting next to the white boy, Cordell Hodis was his name. He putting the pictures on TV.
Right.
He doing everything. He the technical director.
Right.
So now I'm looking at he teaching me how to operate that board.
All right.
So I'm like, okay. So then he teaching me so he can go home for lunch after the evening news.
Right.
And he got comfortable and left me there. So now I'm switching the stuff on TV and doing all those things. And then I started working days because they wanted me to switch on doing the days. You know, so this nigga can handle all this.
Yeah.
So I got good at that and, you know, making that good money.
Yeah.
You know, $100 a week back then. And then they had something called a draft. And I had a draft coming up during Vietnam.
Yeah.
And I had my wife, my son and all. So I said, well, I'm gonna go to the Army and go to Vietnam that way, go to the Marine Corps.
Right.
So I tried to go to the Air Force, couldn't pass the test. And I remember walking out the Air Force guy office for the second time, trying to get in the Air Force before they drafted me, and the Navy guy standing outside his door, Navy recruiter. He said, "Man, what would you score on that test? How'd you do?" And I told him, he said, "Man, I can put you in the Navy today with that." I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, with that score, I can put you in the Navy today." I said, "Man," he said, "I'm telling you, come here, let me show you." And that was my first mistake. I went and sat down with him and all. I said, "Man, look, I can't swim."
Right.
You know, I get, "Oh, don't worry about it. We'll teach you how to swim." I said, "Man, I done heard about that tower y'all got at boot camp. You got to jump out there." He said, "Look, we don't even have that anymore." He said, "I'm telling you, I can put you in the Navy right there." Long story short, I joined the Navy. And went to Chicago, went to basic, done my training there. And then, because I ain't had my degree, my diploma, I ended up getting assigned to be like basically a secretary.
Right.
What they call a yeoman. And back in those days, there were only a few jobs blacks could do in the military. You know, particularly in the Navy and the Air Force. And the Army and the Marine, we know what you're gonna do. We're gonna give you a gun and you're gonna fight.
Right.
You know, but as far as them good technical jobs and so forth, blacks couldn't do those jobs back then in the Navy and in the Air Force. So I was supposed to be what they call a yeoman. And when I got to the ship, my first ship was USS Constellation, which was an aircraft carrier in San Diego, California. After I put in for a program, supposedly they were going to keep me on the East Coast.
Right.
Then they tell me I'm going to the Constellation. What the hell is that? I went to San Diego. I can't go to San Diego. And got to San Diego. And I thought my wife would be pissed, but she wasn't. You know, because
that's right.
We got to go to San Diego. And when I was in the guy's office talking about where he was going to send me on the ship, I begged this man. There was a black guy. He was working in personnel. He was a yeoman. And I begged him for an hour to send me up to what was called public affairs.
Right.
I said, Chief sent me to public affairs because I worked at a TV station at
Right.
home. You know, I worked at a TV station. I was a technical director. I was an audio man, and he wasn't having any of it. You know, the niggas didn't work up in public affairs.
Right.
You know, back in those days. And after about an hour begging this brother, he said, okay, look here. I'm gonna send you up to public affairs. Okay, which had no black folks
Right.
in public affairs. He said, I'm gonna send you up to public affairs, to PAL. And then he leaned across his desk at me. He said, but, and in these exact same words, there's one about us in there, but he and I. He said, but nigga, if you fuck me, I'm gonna have your ass. Do you understand that? I said, yeah, Chief, I understand. I got you. And he sent me to public affairs. And then all the white boys, they were in charge of, I mean, the ship was big enough that we had their own TV stations. They had 3 TV stations, radio stations, and a newspaper. So they sent me to the radio station, you know, which I had never done, you know, but, you know, figure, nigga entertainer.
Right.
You know, it's the same. So we put a microphone in front of me and let's spin some records. So it was like, hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the sounds of your main man. Mr. Booker Chambers on the microphone, and I got Tina on the turntable, and let's try it loose. That became just a natural thing. I enjoyed that. It was like, boy, this is fun, you know, except for going overseas for 9 months and leaving my wife and baby in San Diego by themselves. You know, that was terrible. You know, I almost didn't go. My wife and I almost went to Canada because instead of me going to Vietnam.
Right.
But I went, and another long story short, but another few months later, I ain't had wife. You know, wife out in San Diego, 18 years old.
Getting loose.
Yes.
By herself.
Yeah.
A little Negro who spoke me out of San Diego called himself my friend.
Right.
That's them be the ones.
When they were pulling the ship away from the pier, she down there with my son crying. I'm on the ship crying, waving to him. This January the 5th, 1973. And we weren't due back until at least October.
Right.
So, you know, I'm waving, you know, and he's crying, and he down there, don't worry about a thing. I'm going to take good care of it. And he did. He took good care of it. And when we got back, it was a mess. You know, it was thank God, I thank God I didn't end up in jail, you know, because we had our issues, and I put a gun in a woman's mouth, and it got like that. You know, I went over and I just lost it one night.
Yeah.
We went to a house that he and her were there, mutual friends of ours and so forth, and they were sitting on the sofa when I opened up the door, because I knocked on the door, the brother named Robert Taylor. He said, yeah, come on in. I opened up the door, and they sitting on the sofa, and he had his arm around. And when they saw it was me, like, oh, God. And I had my pea coat on, my Navy coat on, and I started, and I had my gun.
Right.
And I started unbuttoning the pea coat, and when it got open, she saw the gun, and she started screaming, he got it! And I just reacted, put it in her mouth, bitch, shut up. And he jumped and I grabbed him by the throat. You know, and the dude house it was, and Robert Taylor, he come from out the back. He said, man, what you doing? And I pointed the gun at him. Shut up. I'm up in this man's house going on. I was like, oh Lord. The only thing saved me was my son, who I hadn't seen at that time in about 4 months or so. He come running out of the bedroom in the house, and all he saw was me. He ain't see gun, nothing. He just saw Daddy. And he ran to me and grabbed my leg. He said, Daddy, hold me, Daddy. He said, hold me, Daddy. And he said, I put the gun up, you know, and I picked him up. He said, Daddy, you gonna stay, Daddy? I said, no, Daryl, Daddy ain't staying. He said, Daddy, please stay, Daddy. I said, no, I can't, Daryl. So I sat him down. I walked out. I forgot to tell y'all, before I left my house, I was ready when I got there. I was ready, but I just didn't go straight like that. I had. And so when I got back to my car, I was sitting outside. I said, I ain't do a goddamn thing. I said, the only thing I did was scare some goddamn people. I need to go back up in this thing. And before I could do that, I started hearing these sirens. Police sirens. I said, goddamn, what is it? I said, they getting ready to bust somebody. There's a drug bust going there.
Coming out your head. She called it.
Oh, they one pull up behind me, in front of me,
Side
beside me. They get out with the pump shotguns. And this before Rodney King got messed up in L.A. now. Years before that. They get out with the pump shotguns. Get out. They damn sure we can see your goddamn hands. I said, hold up. I ain't reaching down here for the door handle for this car. I'm putting my hand through the window. Y'all open the door for me. You know, and he opened the door, and when I got out, the gun fell on the street because I was in my lap. You know, I was all and
but it was registered, right? Wasn't it registered?
Oh yeah, it was registered. Yeah, it was registered. But the thing that helped me was I was in the Navy.
Yes.
And I give credit to this old white police officer. After they handcuffed me, he came over and he said, look, man, I know what you're going through. He said, trust me. I've been there. I've seen it happen. I'm telling you. He said, but don't do it like this.
Right.
And he turned me over to the shore patrol, to the Navy police. And it was a brother. And the brother said, look here, I'm going to carry you over here where I'm at. I got duty tonight. You sleep it off, and in the morning I'll bring you back over here to get your car. So it never got reported. Never got any charges. Never happened. Only thing I didn't get the gun back. I wasn't.
You don't need it.
Y'all go ahead and keep that.
But why you didn't get the gun back? Because it was rushed.
I was trying to get the gun back.
I was trying to get the gun back. I was like, y'all go keep that. Ain't no report, no nothing. So I'm gonna go on. You know. It's like
you
going.
Get another one of them.
But these on my record.
And the funny thing about it now, her and I slept together again after that.
She knows she made a mistake.
Yeah.
Oh, and I was still kind of hooked too. You know, I was on phonics and all that. And
he said, hook on
and then finally a friend of mine that I still got in San Diego to this day. He told me, he said, "Look, man, you gotta let that go, because she got her cake and eating it too. So either she gonna be your wife or nothing at all.
Right.
And what you gonna do?" And then so what she was doing every time she moved in with this guy. They living together.
Right.
So when I taken my son back from being with me, visitation, right? He wouldn't be there. He wouldn't be there. She make sure he not there. And the first time I did that, I taking my son back, and she got on a house coat. Next time I know she done dropped the house coat. Asked me, can I stay for a little while? And back in them days, I like, well, damn, man. So, but that's why I say you gotta let that go. So I did, and when next time she did that, I told her, I said, no, I got somewhere to be. Just have me ready. I see you in 2 weeks. Oh my God. She threw a glass behind me off the door.
She going off now.
She made a mistake.
She just went
She
off.
knew she made one.
And then I started to go, once I found out it hurt her that I had somebody else. Oh Lord, I started bringing my women with me when I took my son back. White women too.
Oh, sold us out. Unforgivable.
When I left her, I'm not gonna lie to you. I said I would never date another black woman.
No.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. And for 3 years, I did. I was strictly.
I love me a black woman.
I know that's right.
I heard you.
My mama always used to tell me, "Man, I bring a white girl in my damn house and throw you and her ass out here."
No.
You still say that.
That ain't
I'm
true.
36 years old.
I didn't. See, that's the one thing about it that I realized earlier that I'm gonna get to in my story. I didn't give up my blackness.
Right.
Because to white folk, to this day, especially in the Navy, I had the reputation as being a radical, racist, and militant individual. That's me. And the truth of the matter is, the only reason how I got that reputation is because of my Gilpin Court upbringing.
Right.
I ain't take no shit off nobody. I don't care if you white, black, green, whatever. No, if you doing me wrong, then what I had to learn in the Navy was, okay, because back in those days, white boys would say, nigga!
Yeah.
And then you get put on report.
Yeah.
And you go to Captain Mass. And you get the brothers get the Captain Mass, and the Captain, he called me a nigga. Captain said, no, I'm not here to judge him for calling you a nigga. I'm here to judge you on assault.
Right.
So then what you have to learn to do is say, okay, well, next time he called me a nigga, instead of hitting him, I'm going to write him up and bring him to you then and let you deal with him.
Right.
And see if you're going to handle him. So that's what you started to do.
Did they fix it when you did that?
Yeah, sometimes. But see, but see, you know, it's just like it is today, but worse. You know, they don't want to jam, you know, for white boys up. So you had to learn how to try to do it within the system. You know, to say, okay, I can't let you get me like that. And then me being in the job I had, you know, by this time.
So you couldn't beat him up?
No.
You couldn't have no way you can get off and just go ahead and throw his ass off the plane, off the boat or something.
Well,
he talking to me like that, I got some for you.
Some of them happened.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, especially off the coast of Vietnam.
Yeah, I got some for you.
But we used to tell the dudes on the ship, you know, say if you fall overboard at night, they will never find you.
That's right. That's right.
Are you threatening me? No, we just telling you
Yeah.
that if you fall overboard at night,
Right.
they will never find you. And stuff
What's happening?
happened. Okay, so
pick you up right out your sleep.
Yeah.
Right on
So
up.
it,
You won't call nobody else a nigga.
It happened. Okay. And see, but where I worked after I got off the ship, well, see what they did. Me being up in public affairs, and then when I passed the test for E4, I officially became a journalist in the Navy.
All right.
I was one of 5 black journalists in the Navy at that time, in the entire Navy at that time. Okay, they sent me to journalism school in Indiana, because I got my GED in the Navy.
Right.
And so they sent me to journalism school in Indiana. And then when I got finished with journalism school, they sent me back to San Diego on shore duty, as we call it, where I became the editor, the first black editor of the largest newspaper in the Navy.
All right.
Okay, which was called the North Island. Now, of course, white folks didn't like that.
You was dating a white woman.
I was still dating white women at that time. But I'm radical, racist, really, you know, all that. Because I had a white boy I worked for on the ship. He was assigned at the Pentagon. He called me one day in San Diego. He said, Booker, what the hell is going on out in San Diego? I said, what are you talking about, Mr. Palace? He said, man, I heard about you the other weekend while I was in San Francisco. I said, what are you about me? He said, man, they got this little radical, racist, militant dude out there in San Diego raising all kinds of hell. I said, Mr. Palace, all I did was somebody pushed me, I pushed back. That's it. I said, dudes violating the rules and regulations, I pointed it out to them. You know, I sent letters to the NAACP, to the American Civil Liberty Union, Congressional Black Caucus, the Chief of Naval Information. I mean, I sent letters. This is how we supposed to play this thing. Y'all done taught the nigga how to write, okay? So I'm gonna do it this way, and they didn't like that. And then, like you said, I'm showing up with white women on my own. So it's like, oh.
You got out woman too?
Yeah. So then they tried to get me for conspiracy to commit murder.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
What would you say?
I was investigated for conspiracy to commit murder.
Wow.
That was another way they were trying to get rid of me.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I knew the charges were trumped up charges.
Right.
You know, because it was a young, they brought a sister in the building where I was working. She became the first black woman in the building. And the name was Elaine Kitchen. I don't know where Elaine was from or whatever, but Elaine had this thing that here we are. Her and I are the only 2 blacks in the building. Now, I done been there a while, then she come in. Elaine would walk down the hall saying, I'm a nice little colored girl, I'm a nice little colored girl, I'm a nice little colored girl. And I said, I'm like, Elaine, don't do that, don't do shit. I'm a nice little colored girl, I'm a nice little colored girl. And she kept doing it. You know, I said, Elaine, you keep doing that. Then they want to call me a little colored boy, and I ain't good with that. I ain't gonna have that. You know, so she kept doing it. So I got a graphic design board to make me a little name tag for the desk tag, for the desk, her desk. and I told him to put little blue colored girl.
Yeah.
Little blue colored girl on the desk there. And I gave it to her in front of white folk. I said, Elaine, since you don't know what color you are,
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you one. and your color is blue.
Okay.
So, and here's your desk tag.
Happy now.
The little blue colored
Colored
girl.
girl.
Gave it to her in front of the white folk. I turned around and walked away.
Right.
You know. Well, lo and behold, her white boss commander did some stuff that she saw and got sexual harassment and all that. So she put in a complaint against him.
Right.
Okay. And in the process of her complaining against these white folks, because now she's seeing what I tried to tell her all along, you know, she put in a complaint against the white folk, and somebody put a note on her car one Tuesday saying, drop the investigation by noon Tuesday.
What?
Drop the investigation by noon Tuesday, or your children will be dead by noon Friday.
Oh, no.
They tried to say I'm one of the suspects that wrote the note on her car.
Right.
I said, come on now, y'all. Y'all know you telling me I'm a radical, racist, militant individual. You know damn well I'm not gonna put no note on a black woman's car,
That's right.
threatening the lives of her children if she doesn't drop a racial discrimination complaint against white people. Come on, y'all. But yep, that's what they tried to get me with. They tried to roll.
They tried.
Oh, they tried. I ended up getting captain's transfer. Now, when I first got to this building, people wouldn't speak to me. I'm telling you, would not speak. 'Cause I told them I was